And we are live. Yes, we are live today together with Jose Alvarez, co-founder of the Abbott NYC brand. So May is a mental health month, and we have decided to talk to find the brand with who we want to talk about mental health. Mental health, escaping into nature, which means escaping into nature, and how the fragrance can help you with mental health. So fragrances have been part of the human culture for centuries, and with ability to evoke emotions, create ambience, and even trigger memories. But did you know that the certain fragrance can also have a profound impact on our mental well-being? Join us today for this fascinating talk together with Jose and his story about how he has created brands and all the purpose behind it, making impact on the environment, making impact on the mental health, and also sustainability and giving back. So there are a lot of very interesting, hottest topics to cover today. And we start today. Welcome, Jose.
Hi, Irina. Thank you for having me.
Yes, so let's start with your story, because when I heard your story, I thought that how amazing it is, how timely it is. Actually, I think it's really like a very interesting story. Tell me how you ended up with this idea of the
Yeah,
brand.
so I'm originally from Nicaragua. Um, when I was growing up in Nicaragua, there wasn't really much to do. So, while most teenagers here in the United States spent their weekends in the shopping mall or going to movies or going to go get a burger, none of those things really existed in Nicaragua when I was growing up. There were no malls, no movies, and no kind of those kinds of activities that are kind of very emblematic of the your adolescence in the United States. So I really started growing up, and with my family we started traveling around the country, and the country is very untouched, very virgin, you would say, at this time. And I fell in love with nature. My mom's family comes from a family of coffee growers, so we would go to the coffee farms and walk around the coffee plantations and walk for hours on end. We would go camping on the beach where there would be no one, and I learned how to make a fire, how to go fishing and find my food for the night. And that's really where my kind of love of nature started from. A lot of times your adolescence is not an easy times for me. I remember all these very intense feelings. And I remember all that noise from school kind of just fading away when I would be in nature. I noticed that I wasn't really thinking about that stuff. I was just really present. And I just felt happier. So, mental health wasn't really in my vocabulary at that time. But I just knew that it made me feel good and that I stopped thinking about things that were making me distraught. Fast forward, I graduated from university, and I initially wanted to volunteer for a year of my life after I graduated. So I volunteered in LA. I worked in Skid Row, and after that, I was quite sure that I wanted to move to New York City and work on Wall Street, which I did. I ended up working on Wall Street for over 10 years. And it was a very, most of my time on Wall Street, I remember very fondly. I worked with very, very intelligent people and learned a lot. But, it was a very high pressure job. And I really didn't have any time to escape to nature. So, stress of moving to a new city, very stressful job. And the thing that I was used to, going into to help me deal with all these kind of emotions wasn't really readily accessible to me in the city. So, I've always remembered fragrance and how it can evoke a memory or a place. I always felt that very deeply in me. Like music and fragrances are kind of similar for me in that aspect. So I started experimenting with fragrances at work that would kind of transport me to different places. So I had like sandalwood oil for like forests. I would find some of like amber for escaping into the ocean. And these citrus scents to energize me. And I felt that they had a real impact on my mental health, even when I wasn't able to escape into nature. And that was kind of my aha moment, where I was thinking that I can't be the only person that has this relationship with the outdoors and is looking for ways to access it when it's not readily available. So that was really the beginning of Abbott. As I said, I come from a line of entrepreneurs, mainly in coffee from my family. And I loved finance, but there comes a point where I really wanted to build something on my own, one. And I also wanted to build something that was physical. There's so many goods and services today that are not physical, that you can't touch. And that's what, finance is a lot of that. You make products that are not really physical. And um, I just really wanted to make something that was in the real physical world.
I think
And
it's physical. I think it's also emotional. Don't you think so? It's sort of
yeah,
like
I
an
mean, physical and meaning that they can touch it, they can smell it, it's real. But absolutely, yeah. I mean, at the most basic point, fragrance is a very emotional thing. And I think people are starting to tap into that. Historically, uh, people wore fragrances to please others. You wore your fragrance because you were going out in a night and you wanted to smell good for your partner, or you put on a fragrance because, you know, your loved one bought it for you and they liked the way it smelled on you. Now, people are wearing their fragrances for themselves, which is something that I've always wanted and I always believed would happen. Same thing with clothing. Like 15 years ago, people would wear stuff for their partners. Now people dress for themselves. And I really love this trend of doing things for yourself. Um, and I think that happened through the pandemic where, we were all locked up for long periods of times and we were looking for things that would make us happy, make us feel good in our space. So people started wearing fragrances in their houses, even if they weren't going out, and it wasn't anything to do with impressing anyone or for wearing it for themselves. They started doing it, for yourself. And I think that was a big kind of psyche change. And I really believe we're just at the beginning of that trend. I think it's going to be a long trend and it's going to, just be the future of how we think about fragrances.
Yeah, totally. I can totally connect. Like when I was a child in school, my school years, my parents always drove me in my grandmother's village during all the summer holidays, and I remember this smell of violets. In the early spring, there was a lot of violets, and the smell of violets, it sort of stick in my brain. And I remember came across a shampoo with this. Very strong smell of violets, and I was thinking, oh my god, why it's make me feel so good? Why is this so concentrated? But then I read it about violets, and I made the connections, and I totally relate to it. Yeah, I start fanatically looking for anything which would has violet smell. So like totally understand. But what I like about your brand, of course, so definitely we speak a lot about mental health, and we speak about mental health, and also is how it can enhance relaxation, promote focus, uplift spirits. There is some science behind it when you choosing your fragrances. Are you how you looking at the just looking at the interesting nice combinations, or you also have keep a goal in mind, this is uplifting, this is relaxing, or how
Yeah,
do you choose?
absolutely. So, I mean, I really think that the main goal for us was, all of our fragrances are inspired by a specific destination. So, I had the luck of being able to travel a lot in the United States and being able to visit parts of the country that are naturally beautiful. So, our first goal was to make fragrances that embodied what those locations smelled like. And these were locations that were very important to me because of a history that I just fell in love with them and have been going there for a bunch of years, or even a shared history with my wife and my daughter. Um, so first and foremost was making sure we were true to that memory. So let's take, for example, our Sequoia perfume, which is one of our top sellers. Each one is inspired by a specific memory because it's very hard to capture everything, right? So the specific memory for Sequoia is sitting around a campfire after hiking around the forest throughout the day and just looking at the stars with the huge sequoia trees around us and, drinking a glass of whiskey and sharing stories with friends. So that fragrance is very woody, very earthy, and very smoky because we wanted to capture the smokiness of the wood fire and of the whiskey. So that's like the first part. Then the second part is really focusing on how we're getting these ingredients. So there's thousands of ingredients when you work with perfume, but our list is quite controlled. First, we only work with sustainable ingredients. So we have to make sure that every single ingredient that we work with comes from a sustainable source. And second, we only work with clean ingredients. So clean for us, I know it's a term that gets thrown around a lot. Clean for us is um, we make sure that our ingredients are not having a harmful effect on our consumers. So anything that is known of having a harmful effect or even suspected of having a harmful effect is done away with. So there's over 4,000 ingredients that we don't work with. So then with that limited universe of ingredients, we start making our fragrance. And then from there, we start looking at these aromatherapy benefits that you're talking about, right? And we look at adding things that work cohesive with each other to try to get you to be, as you saying, uplifting, relaxing, energizing, etc. So we have different scent categories. So woody, like our woody scent is Sequoia. That is going to be kind of more uplifting. There's these things called forest bathing, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but it's very popular in Japan.
Yes, yes, I do. Yes, and I do it
Yeah,
as well.
you go out, you walk in a forest, and that gives you all this kind of mental health benefits. So that was kind of the goal with Sequoia. Now, our Montecito fragrance, it's a very citrusy fragrance. The memory there is walking around citrus fields in Southern California, Central California. And we really wanted to make an energizing kind of fragrance. So we stuck with kind of energizing notes, grapefruit, and other citrus notes in there. We also have jasmine as well, which you were talking about your mother's house, your grandmother's house. My grandmother had jasmine in there at night, which would bloom. So there's a lot of stuff that we try to work together to try to have those different aromatherapy benefits that different fragrances have.
Yes, exactly. What I also like that while you're building your brand, yeah, there is like you tick all the boxes. You build your brand with purpose, which is sustainable and giving back, and also has this mental health sort of directions. So now let's talk about sustainability. I mean, it's clear right now that brands who are not having any sustainability strategy in place, they are not having a future, right?
Yeah.
So you also thought about that. What is your kind of
Yeah. So, I mean, Abbott's been
strategy?
around now for almost 7 years. So when we started Abbott, sustainability wasn't like what it is now. And it was very difficult for us to find perfumers that wanted to work with us. They thought we were crazy. We were going to be sustainable, we were going to be clean, and we were going to be transparent about our fragrances. So, 99% of the industry still to this day hide behind trade secrets to not tell you what is in their perfumes. So they'll put eau de parfum and alcohol. Now, eau de parfum and fragrance encapsulates a lot of ingredients. Some are not good for you. So we really, believe that our consumers are smart and they should be able to know what they're putting on their bodies every day, and they should be able to decide what they want and what they don't want. So, that was our list when we were talking to perfumers, and not most of them were saying that we can't make anything that's going to smell great with those kind of different boxes that we were trying to tick. We got lucky enough; we found perfumers that were excited about the project and really believed in what we were doing. But you know, sustainability wasn't really a choice for me. I mean, the whole brand is about celebrating nature, right? Celebrating nature through fragrance, transporting you to nature because it's beautiful. And how could I not be making a brand that was protecting nature? It just didn't make any sense. So, in celebrating nature, we're also protecting it because I want to make sure that future generations are able to see this beautiful, thing that we have in this earth. And I want to make sure that whatever product we're putting out there is having the least amount of footprint that it can possibly have. Because at the end of the day, the brand is all about protecting and celebrating this beautiful resource that we have. So
Yes.
it was never really a thing like, oh, we have to be sustainable because it's the future. It was like, we have to be sustainable because I love nature and I want to make sure that it's around forever.
Yeah. Yes. And here we come to the purpose, actually. And also, like giving back is important, right? Aspect of many brands today. How did you choose the charity and the causes that your brand supports, and what impact you have seen from these efforts?
Absolutely. So again, the brand is all about celebrating nature. So we're inspired by different locations across the country. And, we recently launched a fragrance inspired by my home in Nicaragua. It's called Papaya Isla. It's a very tropical, very juicy fragrance. So, a lot of the brands that I see have 1% for the earth, or they have these other kind of larger charities. We kind of did a very different approach. We knew that we were inspired by these different destinations. Our fragrances are named after them, and I wanted to have an impact on those locations that were meaningful to me and to the brand. So we basically chose different charities that are involved in protecting and conserving these locations. So I'll talk about Sequoia again. So Sequoia, we partner with Sequoia Parks Conservancy. So if you don't know this, the Sequoia trees are one of the most ancient kind of lives that are still around in the earth. They are, they predate their BC. A lot of these forests, these trees are thousands of years old. They're humongous. They've seen everything. And now they're burning down. You're having a lot of these fires in California. Historically, they've been able to withstand these fires, but these fires are burning at hotter and more consistent rates. And they're burning these trees that are thousands of years old down, which is extremely sad, right? So Sequoia Parks Conservancy is literally funding, different efforts to stop these fires, different efforts to protect these trees. Like during the off season of the fire, they, try to figure out ways to make sure that when it's dry in the summer, the fires won't burn that many trees. They work very close in hand with firefighters. The money goes to park rangers, and the money goes also to the park where people can go visit Sequoia. They pay a fee, so that's a very real impact that I'm having on that specific location. Now, each one of our fragrances is exactly the same. We partner with a charity that is conserving and protecting that specific location. So for Mojave, that's a scent inspired by the Mojave Desert in California. We work with the Mojave Land Desert Trust. For Papaya Isla, which I'm very excited about because I'm giving back to my country, we partnered with a charity that is providing clean water to very remote locations where they don't have access to water, something very fundamental, something very easy, that we take for granted in the developed world. And they also teach people how to look for water and do it in a clean and sustainable way as well. So that's something that I'm very excited about. And I hope to come out with more fragrances inspired by Nicaragua. And we're going to be partnering with this specific charity going forward on all of our efforts on any single perfume that we do in Nicaragua, because, I really feel like having access to clean water is a fundamental kind of human right. And, that's the kind of impact that I want to have in my country.
That's amazing that you are able to even choose this charity so carefully that you can see some impact. And like we are launching the Blue Beauty Award with Jeannie Jarnot, the chief judge and the founder of Beauty Heroes. And what she's saying that we already polluted environment so much that being climate neutral or don't do bad for the planet is not enough. That we need to do something, to help regenerate all this nature. And I think you are. Yes, I feel like you must be really proud to find the purpose like that. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing. Sometimes it is overwhelming because fires are still happening, and not everyone has access to clean water, or the Mojave Desert is still getting encroached on. But we do what we can, and it is great. We have a very strong partnership with some of these charities. We talk to them. We help fundraising events. So that is a very that's a very nice part of what's come out of this brand.
Yeah. You know what? It's all about small steps very often. Sometimes I feel like the brands are sort of holding back from investing too much in that because they feel like, we cannot make a difference or something like that. Or sometimes people think this way, that what is me? I cannot make a difference. But it's if each of us will make these little small steps, this is when the change is happening, and this is where you can really help. Right?
I totally agree with you, Irina. I think that mentality of what I'm only one person. What can I do? I think
Yes.
I think when people see what you're doing and how you're doing it, it makes other people think, and they're like, oh, if they're doing it, then I can do it. And then that's kind of a change, right? You're changing someone's mind, you're changing someone's habit. And there's more and more change, and it hopefully catches on like wildfire.
Yes. So I guess what is next for the brands is new fragrances, inspired, new beautiful destination which need help, right? Also to help to preserve and things like that. And I really like this kind of.
For me, it's been, it was really amazing to make all these fragrances inspired by the United States. I've been living here now for over 25 years, but it's been really, really, you know, it's just feels so good to be doing fragrances now inspired by my country.
Yeah.
Home is always home. And a lot of time our childhood memories are kind of our strongest ones. So it's been really cool to be able to work on fragrances that are very much tied in with my memories of childhood.
Yeah.
And then to be able to do something where, I'm trying to help and give people access to clean water has just been really kind of where you say purposeful for me. So I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to be leaning into that direction. I have many different ideas of different fragrances that I'm working on, inspired by my country, which is, a beautiful country, and there's a lot of inspiration to draw upon there.
Thank you so much, Jose. I think we are about to end this podcast. We may get cut off.
No worries.
So really nice
It's
to
16
have
hours.
a conversation with you. I am looking forward to hear you at our next conference in Austin in September.
I'm so excited to see you in Austin as well. Thank you so much for having me, and it's been amazing to talk to you.
Yeah, we like to inspire more brands to do more good for planet, people, and society. And this has always been like motto for our conference, to have to bring inspiration like that to the other brands.
Thank
This
you,
is that.
Irina.
Thank you, Jose.